Friends, today I want to share why staying home is not only safe, but wise. Many see staying home as boring or restrictive. Yet, there is great power in choosing calm over chaos. When you stay home, you control what you can control: your actions, your thoughts, your time. You cannot control the world outside, its noise, its dangers, its uncertainties, but you can control yourself. There is a freedom that comes from understanding the limits of what you can control. Many people spend their lives chasing things they cannot change, trying to bend the world to their desires, and in doing so, they surrender their peace. When you grasp that the only things truly in your power are your thoughts, your choices, and your actions, you begin to find calm in the midst of chaos. The world will always be unpredictable. Events occur without warning. People act in ways we do not expect, and circumstances shift beyond our influence. To fight these realities, to try to force them into alignment with what you wish, is to invite frustration, anger, and disappointment. The wise person does not waste energy on such battles. They turn their attention inward, toward what can be governed, the mind and the decisions that flow from it. Every day, situations arise that are outside your control. Someone may treat you unfairly. A plan may fail. The weather may ruin your hopes. In such moments, you have a choice. You can react with frustration, blaming the world, and wishing things were different, or you can pause and consider your response. Your response, unlike the event itself, is entirely yours. The person who understands this does not deny the discomfort or difficulty of the situation, but they also do not allow it to dominate them. They see clearly that, while the world presents challenges, these challenges cannot touch the essence of their character unless they permit it. Your mind is the citadel no one can breach unless you hand over the keys. When you focus on controlling your thoughts, you gain clarity. Every thought is a seed that shapes your feelings and your choices. Negative or uncontrolled thoughts breed anxiety, fear, and anger. But when you observe your thoughts, question them, and choose which to nurture, you plant seeds of calm, resilience, and rational action. No matter what happens outside, the way you interpret events is yours alone. You may not be able to stop a misfortune from occurring, but you can stop it from corrupting your inner peace. This is not passivity, it is mastery. It is an active, deliberate choice to direct your mental energy toward what is useful, virtuous, and true, rather than what is fleeting, harmful, or imagined. Action, too, is within your control. You cannot control the outcome of every decision, but you can control the effort, the diligence, and the integrity with which you act. When you focus on performing your duties well, on treating others with fairness, and on living according to your principles, you achieve something permanent: the satisfaction of knowing you acted rightly, regardless of what happened afterward. The world may reward you or punish you, may approve or ignore you, but the value of your action remains intact. By concentrating on what you can give and do, rather than what you can take or force, you reclaim your freedom. To recognize the difference between what you can control and what you cannot is to see life clearly. Many suffer because they invest their energy in trying to shape the uncontrollable. They let fear, hope, and desire dictate their peace. By turning inward and tending to your own mind and choices, you withdraw from the chaos that is not yours to command. This is not surrender, it is wisdom. It is a deliberate act of self-governance, a way of living that remains unshaken, even when the world around you trembles. It is in this focus, on the things you can truly influence, that strength and serenity are found. The world beyond your home is always changing. Events occur without warning. People act in ways you cannot predict, and circumstances often shift faster than thought allows. To rely on the outside world for stability or happiness is to place your peace in the hands of chance. Storms come, plans fail, and people disappoint. None of these things are inherently within your power. To cling to certainty in such a world is to set yourself up for frustration. The only thing that remains reliably under your control is your own mind, the lens through which you perceive everything. If you cultivate it carefully, you gain a sanctuary that cannot be shaken by fortune or misfortune, praise or blame, success or failure. Many people live as though the world owes them security, comfort, or recognition. They are constantly pulled by the whims of society, the actions of others, or the endless shifts of circumstance. When their expectations are not met, they suffer. Yet, the mind is the one domain where suffering can be diminished, where clarity can be preserved. If you train your mind to recognize what is truly yours to govern, you discover freedom. You realize that external events, no matter how large or small, cannot harm your essence unless you allow them to. The mind is like a fortress. The gates may be surrounded by chaos, but inside, there is still order, calm, and control. Understanding that the outside world is unpredictable allows you to act with wisdom rather than reaction. When events occur unexpectedly, the untrained mind reacts with fear, anger, or despair. It wishes things were different, as though the world should conform to its desires. The trained mind observes the situation, notes the facts, and chooses a response that is rational and virtuous. You may not be able to prevent disappointment or loss, but you can prevent yourself from being enslaved by them. Your thoughts, your judgments, and your interpretations are yours alone. No one can force them to be different. This is a kind of power that no storm, no accident, and no misfortune can take away. By recognizing that your mind is yours, you also gain clarity about what is truly valuable. Many people pursue wealth, recognition, or comfort, believing that these things will secure happiness. Yet all of them are unstable and subject to the whims of chance. When your mind is trained to focus on its own discipline, reason, and virtue, you begin to see that happiness is not found in the unpredictable, but in the predictable, the inner life. Peace arises from the ability to face the world as it is, without wishing it were different, while nurturing what is within your grasp. This is not indifference to life, it is mastery over your responses. The unpredictability of the world can also be a teacher. Each event, each surprise, each disappointment reminds you of the limits of external control and the importance of internal governance. When you rely on your mind rather than on circumstance, you navigate life with steady footing, like a sailor who trusts the compass rather than the waves. You cannot control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. Your thoughts, judgments, and choices are those sails, and by tending to them with care and reason, you remain steady, no matter what the outside brings. The mind is yours in every moment. It is present whether the world is calm or turbulent. By turning attention inward and nurturing rational thought, discipline, and self-awareness, you build a space of freedom that no event outside can touch. The outside world may test you, challenge you, and surprise you, but within the mind, clarity and order are always available. The unpredictable nature of life becomes less threatening when you realize that your inner world, guided by reason and awareness, remains untouched and secure. Staying home gives the mind a rare opportunity. In the outside world, distractions are constant. Noise, activity, and demands pull attention in every direction, leaving little space for thought. When you step away from the chaos and remain in the quiet of your own home, you create a place where reflection becomes possible. Here, you can observe your thoughts without interruption, examine your actions without judgment, and consider the choices that shape your life. It is in this stillness that wisdom grows. Without moments of solitude, the mind is easily carried along by habit, impulse, and external pressures. To pause, to remain still, and to consider carefully is a gift that staying home allows. Deep thinking is not simply daydreaming. It is the deliberate examination of life, of values, and of priorities. When you are home, away from the constant pull of obligations or social expectations, you have the chance to ask yourself meaningful questions. What is truly important to me? What can I control? Where have I acted wisely? And where have I allowed impulse to guide me? These questions do not require grand gestures or dramatic experiences. They require presence, honesty, and attention. Staying home removes the noise that often prevents such introspection. It allows the mind to slow down, to observe patterns in thought, and to understand the motivations behind desires and fears. Reflection also nurtures clarity. When you are constantly moving, running errands, meeting people, or responding to events, the mind can become clouded. Decisions are made hastily, judgments are influenced by emotion, and insight is obscured by distraction. By contrast, staying home provides the environment to step back, to see life as it is, and to consider situations with calm reason. You can analyze your reactions, evaluate your habits, and consider whether your actions align with your principles. In this quiet space, the mind can organize itself, separating what matters from what is trivial, distinguishing between impulse and intention. In addition to clarity, staying home allows for a deeper understanding of yourself. Often, people avoid solitude because it forces confrontation with their own thoughts, fears, and weaknesses. Yet it is precisely in this confrontation that growth occurs. When the mind is unoccupied by external demands, it turns inward. You begin to notice recurring patterns in thinking and behavior, recognize the influence of desire or fear, and see where discipline is needed. By observing without judgment and with honest attention, you gain insight into your own character. This knowledge is a foundation for living deliberately, making choices guided by reason rather than habit, and responding to challenges with calm and purpose. Reflection at home also enhances creativity and problem solving. When the mind is not rushed or overstimulated, it can connect ideas in new ways, consider possibilities previously overlooked, and find solutions that are not apparent in the chaos of activity. Many of the greatest insights occur in quiet moments, in the space between action and distraction. By remaining home, you give yourself these moments. You create the conditions where careful thought can emerge, where imagination can flourish, and where understanding can deepen. Finally, staying home and reflecting nurtures patience. Life outside is often urgent, demanding immediate responses and constant engagement. At home, you can slow down. You can examine situations without the pressure of immediate action, consider the consequences of choices, and make decisions grounded in reason rather than impulse. This patience strengthens the mind and cultivates resilience. It allows you to act with intention, rather than react to every disturbance, and to face challenges with calm determination. Patience is not something that appears in moments of hurry or distraction. It is cultivated in stillness, in moments when the mind and body are not pulled in 1,000 directions. When you stay home and embrace the quiet, you give yourself the opportunity to experience life at its natural pace, to notice that not everything demands immediate response, and to accept that some things must unfold in their own time. Many people struggle because they wish the world would conform to their desires, moving faster or slower as suits them. Yet this desire leads only to frustration. Patience begins when you let go of the need to control the timing of events outside your own mind. The world is full of delays, obstacles, and interruptions. In rushing to meet every expectation, in reacting to every small inconvenience, people lose calm and composure. When you remain home, removed from constant demands, you practice the art of waiting without complaint. You learn to let time pass without agitation, to watch events unfold without the need to force outcomes, and to trust that the present moment is enough. This acceptance of stillness is not passivity, it is active training. It teaches the mind to endure, to observe, and to respond with clarity rather than impulse. Patience cultivated in stillness also builds resilience. Life will always present difficulties, whether in the form of other people's behavior, the unpredictability of circumstances, or the limitations of your own body and mind. By remaining calm and accepting the need for patience in daily life, you prepare yourself for larger challenges. You begin to understand that frustration and anger do not change the situation, but only disturb your inner peace. Each moment spent practicing patience at home strengthens your ability to endure hardship with dignity and composure. The small exercises of waiting, of tolerating boredom, and of accepting the pace of life become training for larger tests of character. When you accept stillness, you also learn to value the present moment. Many people rush through life, seeking what is next, worrying about what has passed, or longing for what might come. In doing so, they miss the opportunities for reflection and growth available right now. Patience requires attention to the present, an awareness of what is happening, and an understanding that everything has its proper time. Staying home provides a natural environment for this practice. You can engage fully with the tasks at hand, enjoy small comforts, and allow yourself to experience life without the pressure of constant urgency. In this way, patience and presence grow together, reinforcing one another. Acceptance of stillness also improves judgment and decision-making. When the mind is hurried, choices are often rash, influenced by emotion, and guided by temporary desire. Patience allows for observation, for weighing consequences, and for considering alternatives calmly. by remaining home. Removed from external pressures, you create the conditions for careful thought. You learn that some decisions cannot be rushed, that waiting can clarify what is truly important, and that responding with composure often leads to better outcomes than reacting hastily. Finally, patience nurtured through stillness deepens self-understanding. In quiet moments, you notice impulses, desires, and fears that might otherwise go unexamined. You see how often you have acted from impatience, how quickly frustration can arise, and how your mind reacts to challenges. By observing these tendencies without judgment, you begin to develop control over them. You learn to pause before acting, to consider carefully, and to respond with intention rather than reflex. This control over the self, this ability to remain steady and patient even when circumstances are uncertain or slow, is a source of strength that nothing outside the home can take from you. Many people believe that happiness depends on what they do, where they go, or what they possess. They move constantly, chasing new experiences, accomplishments, or possessions, thinking that these external things will bring lasting satisfaction. Yet this pursuit often leaves the mind restless and the heart unsatisfied. True contentment is not found in the endless rush of activity, in the accumulation of objects, or in the approval of others. It comes from within, from the calm understanding that your inner life is the source of your peace, and that nothing outside can add to it unless you allow it. The mind can be restless because it relies on external circumstances for approval or validation. When praise comes, there is joy. When criticism arrives, there is pain. When a plan succeeds, there is excitement. When it fails, disappointment follows. This dependence on things outside your control creates constant fluctuation in mood and energy. By contrast, when contentment arises from within, the mind remains steady. The calm of inner satisfaction is not shaken by fortune or misfortune, by praise or blame, by gain or loss. It is a self-contained happiness, a sense of enoughness that does not require external reinforcement. Staying home offers the perfect environment to nurture this internal contentment. Removed from the constant pull of social comparison, endless tasks, and external distractions, you can focus on cultivating a mind that values simplicity, gratitude, and reason. You begin to see that the constant activity, often pursued in the outside world, is not necessary for fulfillment. It is often a distraction from the mind's true work: reflection, understanding, and the practice of virtue. By being still, by observing your thoughts and desires, you learn that happiness does not come from doing more, but from understanding more, from aligning your actions with your principles, and from accepting life as it is. When contentment comes from within, it changes the way you act in the world. You no longer act from neediness or fear, trying to gain approval or escape discomfort. Instead, your actions are deliberate, chosen, and guided by reason. You respond to challenges with calm, not panic. You face difficulties with patience, not complaint. The inner satisfaction that arises from self-awareness and virtue provides a foundation that is unshakable, even when the external world is unpredictable or chaotic. It is a contentment rooted in self-governance, not in the fleeting appearances of success or pleasure. Inner contentment also allows gratitude to grow. When you are not constantly chasing the next activity, achievement, or distraction, you notice the simple things that sustain life: the comfort of a warm home, the food that nourishes, the people who care, the mind that can think and reflect. These things, often overlooked when one is caught in constant movement, become sources of joy when attention is given to them. Gratitude is a natural companion to contentment, and both arise from the practice of turning inward, appreciating what you have, and recognizing that happiness is not something to be obtained externally, but something to be realized internally. Finally, contentment from within strengthens resilience. Life will always present challenges, delays, and unexpected difficulties. If happiness depends on constant activity, these challenges threaten to destroy it. But when contentment is cultivated within, obstacles do not shake the foundation of peace. The mind remains calm, the heart remains steady, and life can be faced with clarity and strength. The quiet of staying home, the deliberate practice of reflection and mindfulness, fosters this inner well-being. It teaches that satisfaction does not come from what you do, but from how you think, how you perceive, and how you live with reason and purpose. Gratitude is a quiet power that often goes unnoticed in the rush of life. People search for extraordinary experiences, wealth, or recognition, believing that these will bring satisfaction. Yet true gratitude does not come from grandeur, it comes from recognizing the small, ordinary things that surround us every day. A warm home, a simple meal, a moment of rest, the ability to breathe freely. These are not trivial, they are the foundations of a life lived well. When you stay home and slow down, you notice these comforts, and the mind naturally turns toward appreciation. It is in the stillness, away from constant distraction, that gratitude can grow, not as an abstract idea, but as a lived experience. Many fail to feel grateful because they take the ordinary for granted. They seek what is distant or difficult to obtain while overlooking what is already present. This tendency leaves them restless and dissatisfied. Yet, when the mind is calm and attentive, even the simplest things reveal themselves to be gifts. The roof over your head protects you from the storm. The food you eat nourishes your body. The quiet moments allow your mind to rest and reflect. Each of these comforts, small as they may seem, sustains life and provides the conditions for thought, action, and peace. Recognizing them creates a sense of abundance, even if material wealth is lacking, and builds a foundation for contentment that does not rely on fortune. Gratitude for simple comforts also changes the way you see challenges. Life is unpredictable, and difficulties will always arise. When the mind is focused only on what is missing or desired, every obstacle feels heavier. Yet when you cultivate gratitude for what you already possess, challenges are seen in a different light. They become temporary disturbances rather than threats to your well-being. The mind that appreciates what is present is less likely to be shaken by what is absent. By noticing the small blessings of life, you develop resilience, patience, and a calm acceptance that helps you navigate adversity with composure. Staying home enhances this sense of gratitude because it allows the mind to slow and observe. Without constant social pressure, endless errands, or unceasing entertainment, there is space to recognize the things that truly sustain life. You notice the warmth of a chair, the comfort of your bed, the quiet hum of your surroundings, and the simple routines that structure your day. These are not distractions. They are the essential elements that make reflection, thought, and purposeful action possible. Gratitude grows naturally when attention is given to these ordinary gifts, and the mind learns that abundance is not measured by how much you have, but by how fully you perceive and appreciate what is already present. Gratitude also fosters humility and perspective. When you recognize that the comforts you enjoy are not owed to you, but are part of life's natural rhythm, the mind becomes less self-centered. The simple things, the food on your plate, the shelter that protects you, the air that fills your lungs, remind you that life is interconnected and that many of the things you rely upon are not guaranteed. This awareness does not create fear but encourages respect, care, and mindfulness. It deepens the sense of connection to life itself, making every small comfort meaningful and every ordinary day valuable. Finally, gratitude strengthens joy. Joy is not dependent on extraordinary events or possessions. When the mind notices the small comforts that surround daily life, it becomes capable of delighting in what is present. A sip of water, the warmth of sunlight, a quiet moment of thought, all become sources of satisfaction. Gratitude transforms the ordinary into something precious, teaching that happiness is not found in accumulation or constant striving, but in the careful observation and appreciation of what already exists. Many people see staying home as passive, as a sign of weakness, as if action only occurs when one is constantly moving or participating in the busy world. Yet true strength is not measured by how often one rushes into external events, nor by the appearances of activity. Strength is measured by self-control, by the ability to choose wisely, and by the courage to act in accordance with reason rather than impulse. To remain home, to resist the pull of endless distraction, and to focus on what truly matters requires discipline. It is an act of conscious choice, not avoidance, and it demonstrates mastery over desire, fear, and external pressure. The world often rewards visible action. The person who is constantly busy, seen in public, engaged in social tasks or work is praised, while the person who pauses to reflect is overlooked or misunderstood. Yet the wisdom of the mind sees things differently. There is nothing weak in recognizing limits. There is nothing weak in understanding that much of the chaos outside cannot be controlled, and that energy is better directed toward the cultivation of virtue, thought, and reason. To stay home is to exercise discernment, to know what is valuable, to protect your time and attention, and to act deliberately rather than react impulsively. Strength is also evident in the patience required to remain in stillness. The mind that chooses to stay home must resist boredom, desire for distraction, and the fear of missing out. It must resist the constant pull of social expectation and the habit of measuring oneself against others. This is not a simple task. It takes courage to face your own thoughts, to confront your own weaknesses, and to endure the quiet without complaint. In this way, staying home becomes a form of training. It strengthens the mind and cultivates resilience because it requires you to act from reason rather than from impulse. It builds fortitude because you are not swayed by the noise of the world, nor by the fleeting appearances of others' lives. Moreover, staying home demonstrates control over external influences. The world can be unpredictable, filled with danger, distraction, and temptation. By choosing to remain in a safe, quiet, and familiar environment, you protect yourself from the unnecessary disturbances that might otherwise weaken the mind or cloud judgment. This is not avoidance in the sense of cowardice. It is selective engagement. It is choosing to act where your efforts are meaningful and to step back where they are wasted. This careful management of attention, energy, and environment is a hallmark of strength, showing that the individual is not a slave to circumstance, but a master of self. The strength in staying home also grows from reflection and self-improvement. By remaining in a space that allows for thought and contemplation, you cultivate virtues such as patience, gratitude, discipline, and wisdom. These qualities are more difficult to develop in constant activity or under the pressure of social expectation. The mind requires stillness to see clearly, to recognize what is within your control, and to act with integrity. To remain home in the pursuit of these qualities is a deliberate exercise of strength, a conscious decision to prioritize long-term growth over temporary distraction or approval. Finally, staying home demonstrates moral courage. It takes courage to resist the cultural pressure to always be moving, always be achieving, and always be externally validated. It takes courage to remain in one place, to focus on what is meaningful, and to reject the illusion that business equals value. By choosing stillness, you show that true strength lies not in external appearances, but in the governance of the mind, in disciplined thought, and in deliberate, virtuous action. This strength, cultivated quietly, shapes the character and prepares the individual to face the world with clarity, resilience, and wisdom. Peace and purpose are not gifts of circumstance. They are cultivated in the mind through attention, discipline, and reflection. The world outside is noisy, chaotic, and often distracting. People move quickly from one task to another, driven by desire, habit, or the expectations of others. In such a whirlwind, it is easy to feel unsettled, lost, or without direction. Yet, when you remain in mindful stillness, when you slow down and observe your thoughts and surroundings, you discover that peace is not found in the absence of difficulty, but in the presence of reason. By focusing on the present moment and aligning action with principle, the mind finds calm, clarity, and a sense of purpose that is independent of external events. Mindful stillness allows you to see what truly matters. The endless noise of activity, social comparison, and distraction often conceals what is important from view. By pausing, turning inward, and observing without judgment, you can distinguish between what is essential and what is trivial. You notice your desires, your fears, and your motivations. You examine whether your actions serve your values or simply satisfy fleeting impulses. This observation, practiced regularly, nurtures wisdom. Peace grows naturally when the mind recognizes that it cannot control everything outside, but it can govern its own thoughts, actions, and judgments. Purpose becomes clear when choices are guided by reason rather than habit. Stillness is also a tool for self-mastery. In constant movement, the mind is subject to external influences, reactive impulses, and emotional turbulence. In quiet reflection, you gain the ability to respond deliberately. You can pause before acting, consider the consequences of decisions, and choose what is in alignment with your principles. This deliberate attention strengthens character and allows the mind to operate with calm authority. The practice of mindfulness is not passive. It is an active shaping of thought, a constant refining of judgment, and a deliberate engagement with the present moment. By embracing stillness, you also cultivate resilience. Life is unpredictable, filled with events beyond your control. Without an internal anchor, you may be tossed about by fear, anger, or disappointment. Mindful attention stabilizes the mind. By repeatedly returning to observation, reflection, and deliberate thought, you learn that even when the world is uncertain, your inner state can remain steady. Peace is not fragile. It is built through consistent practice and the conscious choice to focus on what you can govern. Purpose is not found in external validation. It emerges from consistent alignment of thought and action with reason and virtue. Mindful stillness also deepens gratitude and contentment. When the mind is quiet, it notices the simple truths of existence: the food that nourishes, the shelter that protects, the air that sustains life, the capacity to think and act with intention. These constants, often ignored in the rush of life, become clear sources of stability and satisfaction. Awareness of these simple realities fosters a sense of abundance, reducing the constant craving for more or better. Peace arises naturally when the mind is anchored in appreciation for the present, and purpose emerges when attention is focused on meaningful action rather than superficial pursuit. Finally, mindful stillness encourages intentional living. When every action is considered, every thought observed, and every choice guided by reason, life becomes deliberate. The mind is no longer scattered, reacting to every external stimulus or internal impulse. Instead, it moves with clarity and purpose, recognizing what is within control and what is not, acting with integrity, and responding with calm determination. This combination of inner peace and directed action forms the foundation of a life lived with wisdom, dignity, and fulfillment.